have 10 days left, and if you have been faithful for the first 80, then you have a little tease for the last 10 to get to 90. We have two very special guests with us in the house. We have Honey and Haven with us today.
Can you wave?
And for the next 10 days that you will be joining us. But today we are talking about being reflective, and we have Lydia and Reeves talking to us about what it means to be reflective. 1 John 1:9 says, if we confess our sins, he is faithful and just to forgive us our sins and to cleanse us from all unrighteousness. And me and Sadie got in an argument one time, and she said, I wish you had a mirror right now so that you could see what your face looks like. And I said, did my mom tell you to say that to me? Because growing up, she had always said that. She had always said, I wish you had a mirror so that you could see. Because I would always defend myself and say, no, I don't look like that. And I think we can forget that sometimes we really are reflective with our body language, with our emotions, with our whatever. So just remember today to be reflective and just to know that people see your reactions to certain things.
Hey you guys, we are here on day 80 to talk about being reflective. Today the verse is 1 John 1:9. If we confess our sins, he is faithful and just to forgive us our sins and to cleanse us from all unrighteousness. So I don't know about you, Reeves, or you guys watching, but what Christian is talking about here, I definitely relate to, and I kind of laughed when I first read it because I know that I really struggle, and I have gotten better, but I know that I can really struggle with those important nonverbal communication skills, and that's something that I recognized when Reeves and I started dating a lot, and I definitely knew it too in my childhood because, we can all have an attitude with our parents sometimes or with our friends. Yep. But what Christian's talking about here, I definitely related to of you don't even realize it sometimes what you're doing, but your face will just show it all or your actions of your body language of something like, whatever.
Or maybe just a grunt.
Maybe just a grunt. Like something, you give it away almost. It's like you can't even help it sometimes when that's the state that you're in. It's just like, like you just give it away. You can't even hide it. And I know Reeves will call me out on it, and I'll call him out on it now, like Sadie and Christian are talking about here. But I like how at the end of this devotional, when Christian kind of goes into, at the beginning, he's talking about, you don't even realize it. Maybe he says, maybe I was just hungry, but that face gave it away. And then at the end, he's talking about, as you learn more and more about Jesus, let his example be a mirror for you. From time to time, reflect on how well you're reflecting him and confess the ways you fall short. And I think that's huge because truly, what are we being reflective of? What are we reflecting? Mm-hmm. And so I know for me, if I don't spend time in the Word, I'm being reflective of my inner self. I'm being reflective of that attitude that I have deep within me. But when I wake up and I spend time in the Word and I'm spending time with Jesus and I'm looking at who he is and I'm looking at what he has done for me and I'm looking at who he was on this earth and what he desires for me to be, when I spend time with him, my reflection looks totally different than a day that I don't spend time with him. And I know Reeves can say that is true for me and for himself.
And for me.
Yeah.
I know two things that come to my mind about being reflective, and I think that everybody can relate to this, is one, the saying that everyone says, what goes in is going to come out, and you're the product of the people that you're around.
Yeah.
And so I think that a big important thing to think about right now, and I know that I had to think about this at points in my life, is am I the sum of my friends, and is it good? Is it positive? And also, I tend to just find myself in seasons or maybe like a week or two where I'm watching a show that maybe isn't the best thing for me to ingest. And maybe I'm listening to music, and she's great about holding me accountable to it. I love music, but sometimes I'm listening to something that's not very clean. And so it's just important to think about, should I really be taking this much in from the world or maybe this show and spending too much time on Netflix, and it's replacing this time that I need to be spending with God.
Yeah. It's
more than we think. It's affecting our actions. It's affecting the way that we treat people and the way that we respond to our circumstances around us. And so I know I feel challenged in a way that it's kind of on the front end. You need to start being aware of like, oh, it's really easy thought. I'm just gonna listen to this music for a little bit, like just on this drive. But instead, I could just listen to a podcast. But I think the Lord always gives us another alternative. There's so many resources with Right Now Media and the things that we have today. We can go watch a sermon, or The Chosen is on Netflix now. And I think that the other side of this is that I've learned I always need somebody older than me to point out these things in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't help but read this and think about the community that I have to come back and re-examine around me. Like, do I have somebody older than me that's able to point these things out, that's experienced more life than I have and has been in the place that I've been?
Yeah, so I love everything that Reeves was just talking about, and I know I'm the same way. We're very similar in that way, that I can tell when he's been listening to some music that maybe he shouldn't have been, and he can tell when I've been reading a book or watching a TV show that maybe is making me more sad than I should be. And it's just because, like he said, we're the type of people, and most people are, they just might not recognize it, that it truly is what you're watching, what you're reading, what you're listening to, who you're hanging out with, that has way more of an effect than you could ever really imagine. Yeah. And so, like he said, we just want to challenge you guys today. Have people around you that can call that out in you, because the challenge today is saying how nonverbal communication is important, and it's talking about how we often lack self-awareness in that. And so I know I need Reeves to call me out when I am having this attitude that comes out, and I need him to say, hey, where is that coming from? Why is that here? Have you not spent time with the Lord today? Have you done this? And so you need that too. We all need that. And it doesn't have to be a spouse. It can be your best friend. It can be your parent. It can be a pastor. It can be a mentor. But I would challenge you guys to have that. Ask someone, be bold and say, hey, when I'm not being who I need to be and who Jesus has called me to be, call me out in that. Call me higher than that. Because ultimately, we want to reflect Jesus. As believers, we should want to look like Jesus. Yeah. And when our nonverbal communication and even our verbal communication is not reflecting that, we need to have a moment, a checkpoint where we say, what is the cause of this? And how can I get past this? So today, we just want to challenge you guys in that. Maybe get someone today to be that person that can call you higher. And if you don't have that, and even if you do, I encourage you guys to just pray that the Lord would start to reveal those things to you as well.